Good morning, guys. Cole here with M5X Mechanics, and I'm working on a 2018 Toyota Camry here. This one is in. We're going to be replacing the valve cover gasket on it. We're getting some seepage around it, and especially on the back that's going down. Now, I did a quick search, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information on this vehicle, so I'm going to try to make a quick walkthrough to help some of you guys out. It seems like a pretty straightforward job, like a normal valve cover gasket, besides the fact that this one has a high pressure fuel pump on the top of that. So the only thing different will be removing that. And from the looks of it, from the top here, my only concern is going to be this hard fuel line that's running along. It doesn't look like there will be any movement in it. So we'll probably have to unbolt the valve cover and slide it out that way, I'm assuming. But yeah, this is the first time for me, so it's going to be a learning process. But like I said, I'm going to kind of walk you guys through what I'm planning on doing and going from there. So let's get started here. The first thing I'm going to do is start by removing the coils, of course. That's going to be held on by these plugs right here. You're going to push down on this tab, and if they want to work with you, they should pull off. So we're going to get all these connectors off, and then the next thing that we're going to want to do, is, there we go, get a, looks like an 8mm. We'll start getting the coils out. And besides that, you know, any other plug, looks like this can stay part of the harness here, but we're going to want to remove this harness. You're going to push those tabs forward and continue unplugging some things. So let me go grab a few tools and we'll pick back up. All right, guys, so I have the body mount on now, so hopefully this might make it a little bit easier. So anyways, the only thing that I've done, like you guys saw, I have all of our harnesses unplugged. The next thing I did was unbolt the coils here with the 8mm bolt. I'm going to keep that bolt in there, and I'm going to set the coils up there in the order that they are in the cylinders. No need to mix them up. It's not like it'll cause any problem, but if you can keep them in order, I always recommend it. I think that's ideal. Okay, so now that we got the coils out, I'm going to start going ahead and working on getting this wire harness off. So first thing I'm going to do is get this sensor, press the tab in, and pull up. And from what I can see, that looks like all the sensors. So now I'm going to go in this little area right here. You can see there's a little tab. I pull out with my flathead, and that is going to release this wire harness. So we'll do that on those two sides there. And it looks like there might be another one holding it on back here. I can't tell. So for the time being, we're just going to leave it like that because that's not going to get in the way of our valve cover. Here we can get a better look at where it's been leaking at. Okay, so from there, now we need to start worrying about this side and getting the fuel pump disconnected. Looks like there's another clip for the wire harness back here. I'm just gonna get out of the way really quick. Okay, this is what I just got loose there. All right, so now moving on, I'm gonna get this air intake hose out of our way because that obviously will need to come off as well. This might be a little hard depending on how old your car is. Mine's still semi-new, so we have some malleability to it. Okay, let's unplug the fuel pump there. There's our fuel pump plug-in. And this hose, it looks like we might only need to disconnect here, but we'll see. I'm not entirely sure how this clip goes. This is my first time taking this off. Okay. So it looks like there is a tab from this way you can go in, pull up, and from there we can release it. Be careful, obviously this is a high pressure fuel pump, so definitely expect some fuel to come out of there. It doesn't look like we'll need to disconnect either this hose or this one, so I'll just go ahead and leave those just to give us a little play. This is a little bracket holding on our fuel line, and then I'm also going to need to get a tool for that. It looks like a 19 or a 17. Here's our 8mm, so we might as well loosen this right away. All right, that might give us some wiggle room once we loosen that hose. And then, like I said, it looks like we're gonna need a 17 or 19 for that. 17, 19, grab both just in case. And it is a 17. So again, guys, this is a high pressure fuel pump. Expect some fuel to come out. All right, and we can thankfully get enough, with this bracket being loose, we can get enough wiggle room for this to kind of move out of our way a little bit. We don't want to mess with this too much. We don't want to bend it, kink it, anything like that. So I'm just actually going to keep it in place there. And then from there, the next thing we're going to want to do is obviously unbolt the high pressure fuel pump. That's going to be held on by what looks like 10 millimeters. I'm going to put on a little extension here. I'm going to crack these loose. Now, if this is like a lot of other high pressure fuel pumps, there's a chance that there's a big spring under it putting pressure upward. So you want to loosen each bolt kind of slowly on each side evenly until it loses that pressure. Now we can go ahead and loosen it completely. Okay. Okay. Now this is my first time taking this off, so what you guys are seeing. Okay, and just like that, the high fuel pressure pump is out. You want to be careful with this part. I'm gonna go ahead and take it over to my workbench and just set it down here with the 2 bolts. Don't want to do any damage to that. That's an expensive part. Now it looks like we should be able to start unbolting the valve cover. That is 10 millimeters all around, obviously. And don't feel another one back there. Okay, now before moving on, just so we don't lose any bolts, I'm gonna grab my magnets and keep all of my bolts in there. These are the outside 10 millimeter bolts. Okay, I believe that's everything. Now it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially more bolts. Those look like they're going to be 8 millimeters. So let's go ahead and loosen these up. That is a lot tighter than I ever would have expected. Holy crap. Okay, but let's continue moving on. Okay, now that we got it broken loose, let's see. All right, we got those out. These are gonna stay, oh, I guess they are gonna come out. I thought they were gonna stay in the valve cover. Okay, with those out, looks like they had Loctite on them. I don't think we have any more bolts. The only thing that I'm seeing is the 2 solenoid screws, but I don't think those are actually being held on by, or actually holding on the valve cover. One thing I want to do before pulling this valve cover off is get any debris out of there. So I'm going to get some compressed air and we're going to blow that out. Okay, so you definitely want those solenoid bolts out. Okay, we're gonna take that out now. All right, and just like that, there is our valve cover. All right, guys, so I did a few things off camera, but we're gonna get back into it. But what I did was I got the new gasket on the valve cover. You can see it goes around here. There are other gaskets, these little ones and the tube socket gaskets here. Unfortunately, my valve cover gasket kit didn't come with it. On the bright side though, these don't seem too bad. But just make sure you have these ones in place for where the bolts go, and then the tube gaskets as well. The next thing that you're going to want to do is clean up the mating surface, which I already did. There will be some silicone, dirt, and debris kind of around. So make sure to get the surface nice and clean. What I'm doing right now is I'm just cleaning the tube seals for when I put the valve cover back on. It will slip over there easily. That's where these seals right here seal up against here to keep oil from going in. Now going to apply some silicone. This is important to prevent leaks. You're going to need silicone where the timing cover bolts up to the block. Well, there's 2 spots on this motor. And then you'll also want to put a little dab in these rainbows, in these corners right there, just to help secure that valve cover a little bit more. Otherwise, that is a common leak spot. So I'm just going to go right down this, do the same thing back here on this rainbow. Just do a nice little bead going all the way up. Then 2 little dabs on where the timing cover meets up with the block. Alrighty, and that is all that we need there, guys. So now what we're going to do is finagle this valve cover in. Something we're going to need to be aware of is avoiding this pipe. That's going to be the hardest part, and then having to go up with that valve cover. So let's see if we can finagle this in there. Oh, and then like I said, a little bit of lubrication on the tube seals always help, because you do not want those to tear at all. So what I like to do is get a little bit of oil. I'll put it both on the tubes in the car, and then I like to put a little bit on the seal as well. And that's just to prevent any dry spots that could potentially rip the tube seal. Okay, now let's see there. Oh, wire harness over here catching us. Boom. There we go, guys. And just like that, the valve cover is securely in place. Okay. From there, we can go ahead and get our bolts started. And we should be smooth sailing. Once I get a couple bolts started, I'm going to go ahead and grab my mirror. I'm going to want to make sure everything is lined up as it should be. Or I want to make sure that the valve cover stayed in place, which I'm sure it did. All these bolts had, what's it called on it? Thread locker, that's why they were so tight. Okay, so now before going any farther, a tip that I like to use when doing a valve cover is grabbing a mirror. And from there, I like to follow along the back side just to make sure that gasket didn't get rolled up or pinched anywhere. Okay, we got the valve cover snug down, so now we can continue with our reinstall. Obviously, remember this bracket was on there. We need to make sure that this gasket here lines up properly in the valve cover. So we're gonna slip that back in just like that. There it is. Now, let's go grab our fuel pump. And we'll start putting this in as well. Alrighty guys, and here we are. From here on out, it's pretty much, obviously reverse order. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of cruise through this real quick. Not gonna really explain anything. And yeah, but that's the valve cover gasket. This is a 2018 Toyota Camry with the 2.5 liter. As I'm installing this high pressure fuel pump, we're gonna do the same thing that we did with removing it, kind of tighten, go back and forth. Okay, we want to make sure that's definitely tight because I believe this is cam driven. So as the cam comes up and around, that's what controls or feeds the pump. All right, so let's go ahead, get that plugged back in, get feed lines plugged back in. That is in there just like that. Make sure that's on. I just realized you guys can't even see anything. I already got half this back together. Okay, this you're gonna want pretty tight to make sure it doesn't end up leaking any fuel or anything. We're gonna start with it just like that. All right, pop our coils in. All right, that's it. That is the valve cover. No more bolts. Pretty simple and easy job. We'll take it. But yeah, that is the valve cover.